Alright, so after several weeks of me being at my, summer job and not being able to watch more of these things, or at the very least, not having the energy for it after I get home and being busy on my days off, we're back to Agito. So, yeah, episode 16 to 20. And, yeah, interesting to come back to this because I gotta be honest, in the meantime, between when I did the 10 to 15 podcast episode and 16 to 21, or in this one, I have forgotten some of the things. It's good that they do have sort of recaps at the beginning and like the restating some of the things that happened, at least in the previous few episodes. So yeah, so this episode, the ape, basically we get intersecting of all of the different plots that are going on again with Aki, I believe her name is, uh, and Aki, uh, her basically Rio going to her place and asking her if she knew his father, and because her name shows up in his journal, diary, whatever. Um, she claims that she doesn't know anything, and she wonders why his father would like mention her in his diary. To which he kind of buys it and like goes off on his own way, but or on his he goes off on his way. He does still kind of follow her the next day when she's going over to Shuichi's house, and she recognizes him through the helmet, I think through the visor maybe. It's really weird because like the shot continuity isn't great in this because they it seems like I don't know if it was a stunt performer riding the bike behind her on in the wide shots, or if it was the actual actor for Rio, but at the very least, to me, he seemed to be wearing a different, like, maybe not necessarily helmet, but, like, maybe their goggles or a visor or whatever that's on the helmet. Because it looked like it was, like, what's the word? Like, it was, sunglassed, I guess? I don't know. Just, like, dark, so you couldn't really see the eyes, but then there's a close-up on his eyes, and it's a clear visor or goggles. So you're supposed to see his eye. I don't know. It's really weird. But she does recognize him and she tries to get away. But yeah. So then we get a thing with, or more development with Makoto. Yeah, Makoto. I'm just trying to remember everybody's names. Or Hikawa. And at the police station or headquarters, they are talking about what they're going to do next, and they've authorized the plan for apprehending Agito. And we get Hojo going to, or he says he's not going to let them down. He's already authorized people from the SWAT team or something like that to work for that. So yes, we just have all that in motion, and that's pretty good, I would say. Then we get Hikawa going to back to Shuichi Mana and her family's house, and with an enhanced, I guess, version of the audio on like an old ass tape recorder. I imagine it's digital, but still, it just looks really old. Where he plays it for her, and it's a voice that plays back, and it says the same thing over and over again. I forget what it said. Um, that's just great. I just watched the episode and I forget what it said. And he asks her if she recognizes the voice at all, And she says no. But she's still creeped out by it, obviously. So we have that. Then we have Ikawa. Okay, so in regards to the plot with Aki, we have Mana basically just not liking her, and at one point telling her to just leave, because she doesn't like her or trust her, even though the guys do. They do make a good point saying that, she should really be maybe either hanging out with friends or doing some extracurriculars or whatever. And she says a friend of hers did invite her to join a softball club, I believe, or team or whatever. And Shuichi even tells her that's a good idea, do that. And yeah, but she says that's not what we're talking about, basically just kind of shifting the subject. But yeah. So then, that's before Hikawa, I believe. He calls their house, she answers, and yeah, then that happens. Um, then, we have, a thing where, what is it? When Shuichi and Aki are going food shopping at a local, I think, supermarket, for like fresh fish and whatnot. For some reason, Shoichi, to pick out his favorite fish, he puts his pinky in the mouths of the dead fish, and I guess like closes his eyes to like focus on the fish. For some fucking reason, I don't know. And when he somehow Hikawa, like, I don't necessarily know if he's like tracking him down or whatever, but he, like, I guess sees him maybe when he's out on patrol or something, or just passing through, and he ends up doing the same. I don't understand why he fucking does this. He just imitates Shuichi's like movements. It's really weird with Hikawa's character. He floats between like decent cop who, and also like fighter in the G3 suit, who is pretty capable of his job. It's just that he's in over his head whenever he has to fight an unknown. But then also he's a bit of a doofus when it comes to real life, I guess, outside of police work. It's really fucking weird. I really don't know. It seems like two like things in terms of his personality that don't really meld very well, and they come up the stuff with the real life stuff, I guess, comes up like very randomly, and it's just really odd. It's just really odd to me. I can't explain it any other way. So yeah, so he does that for like a second, and then he's like, wait, I can't, or wait, I'm not gonna do this, or whatever. So then he tries to get Shuichi's attention, but then Aki sees him and bolts right out of there. He chases after her, and he manages to catch up to her and stop her for a second. He then says that they must have met somewhere, and but because Rio's following her, he catches up to where they are, and she has Rio punch Hikawa and everything and keep him occupied for a little bit. Eventually, Rio takes off for some reason, or just runs off. And Hikawa tries to continue following her, but then Shoichi manages to catch up with her before that even happens, and I think they go back to his place. So yeah. So then after that, so actually it's when she catches up with him that she says, please remember me, basically while sort of crying in his, I guess, arms. And he's like, what? He just basically doesn't know what that even means. So she tells Mana and Taichi that she and Shoichi used to be in a romantic relationship. Um, 3 years beforehand. He doesn't remember her at all, obviously. Um, and yeah, and Mana's kind of like finding that hard to believe. So she just tells her to get the fuck out. Um, but Shuichi is wondering uh, like if they were, I guess, really in a relationship while he's out in his garden. So yeah. So then after that, we see her, I think, driving home, and what happens is a thing hits her passenger side window, which I immediately thought, good thing they drive on the left side of the road, otherwise she would have probably gotten really hurt by that. So she obviously swerves to a stop, gets out of her car, and there's an unknown. So yeah, it starts um to like frighten her and everything. Shuichi senses it and then goes off on his bike, transforms into Agito and catches up to it and starts fighting it. Aki starts running away, and then she gets far enough. She somehow gets far enough away that so the thing takes off and gets to her. I guess teleports and catches up to her. Shoichi gives chase to where it is because he can obviously sense it still. Um, but he if for some reason, I guess it's like miles and miles away, because for some reason he can't catch up to it despite the fact that it doesn't seem like Aki should have been able to run too far away from it. I don't know. But then Rio shows up and transforms into um into Kamen Rider Gills and starts fighting it while Shoichi is trying to get there on his motorcycle. So yeah, it seems like we're up for a meeting of Agito and Gills, which is interesting, or should be interesting if that's what happens in the next episode. So yeah, so we basically leave off on that. There is the thing of the creepy dude who we've been following still being in the hospital, I guess, or mental ward, whatever the hell he's in, and psychiatric ward maybe, I don't know, and still with the guy who's been visiting him. He starts to torture the guy for some reason. I don't entirely get why, but he just does, and the guy basically goes through a hallucination because creepy dude uses his psychic powers on him and does psychic damage. So yeah, the dude then comes out of it and he's like all sweaty and shit. So it's like that shit kind of seemed to fuck him up a little bit. So yeah, so then and also Aki seems to be a member of the Akatsuki, and I had no idea that Madara Uchiha was like a part of this. So that'll be interesting to see how the hell that even makes any sense. Obviously joking, but the fact that they use the word Akatsuki, I do wonder if Akatsuki, like, in real life was, like, maybe an old, like, evil organization from however long ago that some people like to use as the name for these kind of, like, secret bad guy organizations in some of these Japanese TV shows and other stories and everything. Because literally the only place I know the word Akatsuki even from is Naruto, so yeah. But otherwise, okay episode, gets the plot moving and everything. It's definitely a middle chapter in this batch of episodes, so yeah, we will see what happens next. On to episode 17. Alright, so this one we have a few different things happening. First off, Aki's keeping up the lie that she was Shoichi's girlfriend before he lost his memory. And for some reason, Shoichi becomes so, I guess, interested and maybe infatuated with her. I don't know. That he decides to just move in with her. Yeah, after she extended the invitation. It's just really fucking weird. But yeah, that's basically what goes on there. Um, and then, which he's initially scared of, I guess, because the invitation is so sudden, and it kind of is, but I don't know why he doesn't keep that mentality up. But then, we get, Mana as well, or still not trusting Aki and everything, and she sees, Shuichi packing up and getting ready to move in with Augie after uh, Mana's uncle gets back, um, so that he can tell him and everything. So yeah, so then that'll be interesting to see. So yeah, so then we also see Rio uh keeping up his kind of stalking of Aki. And in the middle of it, his body starts to dry out again, like in one of the previous episodes. Um, After he developed his gills powers, and then so he starts talking to her in her apartment after after she or after yeah, it's after Aki shows Shoichi the apartment, and then or shows him where it is, and invites him to stay with her. Um and then Rio and her have a bit of a talk, but he knows that she's keeping something from him. So yeah, but then he passes out because his body's having a bad reaction to being dried out and everything. So then, yeah, he wakes up in her bed 'cause she put him there, and he has a bit of a drink or a drink of water and everything from the sink, and then he decides to leave, and he starts to stumble his way around, and she follows him, just basically worried about him, and she tells him at least part of what she didn't tell him earlier, and that's the fact that, and he does that because she's on the phone with the people that she was talking to in the last episode, and she reveals that we find out kind of what the Akatsuki is. It's basically, I guess, this place that a bunch of people were a few years prior, and she invites Rio to meet the other members or the other people who were on the Akatsuki and everything. And before he can really accept, we get Tojo and his team getting ready to capture Agito because they found Aki's purse where Agito, or no, Gills fought the unknown, which is what happens in regards to picking up where the last episode were or left off. It's where Rio transforms into Gills, and the unknown gets away and everything after they fight for a bit. So yeah, so because they find her ID and everything in her purse, they decide to keep tabs on her and follow her around just in case the unknown shows up again. So yeah, their main mission is to capture Agito when he comes along, which Hikawa and Ozawa, Sumiko, they object to the capturing of Agito, but they're still going to go through with it anyways. Basically, their objection is like, if they capture any unknown, it'll be just as good as capturing Agito. But Hojo, he still wants to capture Agito. So yeah, so when Rio transforms into Gills again to fight off the unknown, they start firing on him. Uh, the unknown gets away before it can be fired upon, and even though Rio is in a weakened state, and he seems to be a little bit less powerful than Agito, but granted, I'm not entirely sure of that. Um, he uh, he initially falls to the ground, seemingly passed out, but before the police can like apprehend him, he like grabs their guns and starts like fighting them and uh, beating up the officers and manages to, or actually no, he goes for Hojo, grabs him by the neck, but who comes in but Hikawa in the G3 suit, and he starts fighting Gills, but Gills eventually gets away. Hojo also gets away after Hikawa tells him to, and yeah, basically they fired on Gills because they thought he might be Agito. So yeah, I'm imagining one thing that's gonna happen in the next episode is that Hikawa's gonna tell them that that wasn't Agito, which they really have no frame of reference for otherwise. So yeah, that's fine with me. So yeah, so that happens. Then Rio gets away and basically just passes out again, very very dehydrated it seems, and or dried out or whatever, and transforms back to normal. So yeah. Meanwhile, uh, Shuichi catches up to the unknown, transforms into Agito while the police are distracted with Gills, and fights it, transforms into his dragon form, flame form, with his sword, and defeats the unknown. So, yeah, at least I believe that's what happened. If it doesn't happen like that, then episode 18 will finish the fight, I think. But yeah, and that's basically where the episode leaves off for then. So, decent episode, I would say. It's again just another kind of like link in the chain kind of episode, piece of the puzzle kind of thing, where it's basically moving plot points along and we get some action and everything. I would think that they would want to move the plot along faster than a little faster than this, sorry, just yawned. A little faster than this and everything, but I guess not. Um so yeah, not a bad episode. I do like that Hojo gets his ass handed to him a bit when he basically just finds out he doesn't stand a chance against the monsters like or the unknowns like Gills and Agito yeah. Basically, the reason why they're still going after Agito is the fact that Agito is basically classified as an unknown, which makes a lot of sense in regards to what they would classify him as. So I get it. So yeah, so that's the main reason why they're doing it still. So yeah, wish that Aki wasn't so damn like stubborn with revealing information and everything, because it's just like Rio is basically still looking for information and everything. But yeah, but we basically do get a thing of she says on the phone to her whatever the other person on the line that basically she doesn't expect Rio to have much longer to live just because of how like dried up he's getting, and he agrees, and basically he says he has nothing else in his life, and because he seems to be running out of time, he chose to focus on the leftover business his dad still had, um, because that's just or I'm trying to think, the business that his dad left behind, because basically that was just all he could think to do before he dies, and yeah, that's why he became so single-mindedly focused on investigating. That's what happened with his dad and the Akatsuki and everything. So yeah, um, so yeah, another link in the chain. I feel like Shoichi's like infatuation with Aki or even fascination with Aki is a bit forced. He offers up the explanation that like the professor told him to oh, what was it? Uh, told him basically that people would be sad, or people are probably sad and missing him because of his amnesia and everything. And it's just like, and like that he'd understand if that the professor would understand if Shoichi, I think, went with Aki, but at the same time, it's just like, yeah, Shoichi's not really thinking this through, which I don't necessarily find to be out of character. I think he's just a little too dumb, maybe. I don't know. He doesn't have a lot in the way of common sense, unfortunately. It kind of makes sense for Taichi to still be under the under Aki's, like, I guess, spell or whatever that she has on him, but not Shoichi. Oh yeah, there was a thing from, I believe, the previous episode where I mentioned that Mana mentioned she got invited to join the, like, or to go to the softball uh, club at her school and everything by her friend. And something Aki said about being able to take lead on bases is what she says, I believe. Um, Mana basically deduces that is bullshit, and because you can't, in softball, you can't steal, or you can't no, not steal. You can't lead on bases or whatever. Um, and that's a thing in baseball. So she's basically figuring that Aki is lying about at least that. Shoichi does find it weird, but he says that she probably isn't lying about everything that she told them. And it's just like, dude, come on. I don't know. Yeah, the whole thing with Shoichi and her just seems a little forced, a little sudden. I don't know. It's just really weird. So yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm enjoying what's going on. It's just that I don't really understand why Shoichi is as, like, infatuated with her, and why he's just believing her that they were going out before, like, he lost his memory and everything. It's just really dumb. I'm not gonna lie. Like, she presents no facts, or she presents no, like, tangible proof that that he is like, or that they were going out. She presents no tangible proof that she knew him before he lost his memory. She doesn't even provide any, like, details on when they went out and everything. It's just really weird, and I don't really understand why Shuichi just doesn't see that at least a little bit. It's really dumb. But yeah, I don't really have much else to say. Um, but yeah, oh yeah, there was also the thing where, like, Hojo, he basically says to Sumiko that he liked seeing her human side come out. At the very least, that's how the subtitles translated it. And she's like, human side, and he's just like, yeah, and that's like, uh, wanting to not go after Agito and everything, and because what is it? It's like she's either worried about Agito or protective of Agito, and basically he thinks it's like what Hikawa is going on about, which is like the fact that they're more protective of Agito, which nah, it's not the thing, dude. But yeah, um, but basically it just brings out more of his arrogance, and then the episode later on brings him down a peg by having his plan fail. So yeah, and the G3 suit being basically the only thing really that can even remotely stand up to the unknowns that the police has and everything. So yeah, I do like that the show just beats down Hojo for being a dickbag. So that's pretty good. So yeah, I don't really have too much else to say on this one. So decent episode. On to the next one. All right, so finally something interesting again. Well, I mean, fully interesting. So a couple different things happen in this episode. So first, Aki goes missing as Shoichi moves into her apartment, and he gets a job, part-time job, he says, at a bakery, which makes the most sense for his character. I'm not gonna lie. And yeah. Meanwhile, at the police headquarters, the higher ups at the police, or the higher ups there, are assigning, basically a I don't know, liaison or actual like leader or middleman or whatever of or for the G3 unit. No one's getting fired, no one's doing anything. But they think because of the escalating things with the unknowns, they need to start ramping up what is going on, or ramping up like the effectiveness of the G3 unit. So they bring in a new guy, Hisashi Hanamura, and he is Hojo's old, I think, mentor, whatever, that he worked with prior to working for the police headquarters. Basically, Hojo's kind of an idiot, as it shows with the flashback. Hojo, at the very least, in the past, was one to not do anything subtly, but instead he like a jackass fucking ran out of their police car to try and apprehend a suspect, I guess. Um when they were waiting for him rather than, wait for Hanemura to or Hanamura to direct him in certain ways, and that led to the suspect or perp or whatever turning around and firing at them, but Hanamura took the bullet for him and everything. Was rushed to the hospital while he told Hojo to go or to chase down the suspect. So yeah, I don't necessarily know what the hell they wanted us to think of Hojo. I think he's just a dipshit. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I think that was just to show, like, maybe his hot-headedness, or maybe something that, or maybe that he acts without thinking at sometimes. But like, it's like, bro, you're an idiot, and I'm not apologizing for that. You're just a fucking dipshit. So, yeah. So we have that. And then Hojo and Hanamura have a meeting with the G3 team and go over all the stuff in regards to what they think is going on with the unknowns and all that shit. Hanamura isn't necessarily impressed with a bunch of the like information and deductions that they've made in the previous episodes. Um, so he basically like hyper scrutinizes them, which I'm not necessarily against. Really, I don't think it's bad that they're doing that or that he's doing that. Um, it's just a little unexpected, but um, it makes sense for what they're doing. So yeah. So then a new unknown appears and starts um, striking people with lightning um, that make them spontaneously combust, basically. And um, the first person that this happens to, basically, yeah, he just bursts into flames. There's nothing left but like some of the shit that he dropped, and yeah. However, after that, there's a guy that, or no, the guy who owns the bakery that Shoichi, oh wait, was that? No, it's Tsukasa. Tsukasa's the police chief, or the police guy that they bring in. Sorry, Hanamura is the one that is the bakery owner. Sorry, I got like mixed up with that. Um, so basically, there's a random dickhead who comes out of nowhere after Hanamura. Sorry, I'll correct that as I go along. Hanamura he leaves to, I guess, go home for the night. The guy, like, I'm pretty sure the thing is he is supposed to I think he just like makes him pass out and everything with like a chokehold. Um for some reason, Hanamura he like somehow drops his watch in the struggle, but the guy puts it back on. Steals his fucking phone, which, by the way, this show was made in like 2000, 2001. It's a fucking Motorola flip phone, a blue one. My mom used to have a black one when those were a thing. Man, like a Motorola track phone specifically. So, yeah, and they have quite a few of those in this show. How technology has progressed. So, yeah, so the guy then like douses him in some sort of like liquid or water, whatever the fuck it is, and it starts catching his body on fire. So the police um, are then having to reckon with that, and it leads them to the assumption that the unknowns aren't actually aren't hunting down um, blood relatives and everything like they thought. Which, yeah, puts G3 into a spot because, well, their deduction was right, but at the same time, like, they don't know that. So, yeah. Um, so, then, and it was, some of the filmmaking in this episode is a little bit weird because I swear, like, I thought that Hojo was staking out the bakery and then he follows Hanamura to, like, keep pace with him and keep tabs on him, but I have no idea where the fuck Hojo went when he got out of his police car. It's really weird. There's also the guy that chokes out Hanamura and, like, I guess I think it's like dousing his body in like gas or some shit and then lighting it on fire. Being like masked. So I think the implication that we're supposed to have is maybe that Hojo had something to do with that, or someone Hojo knows had something to do with that, and maybe he's purposefully like, what is the word? Sabotaging G3, which wouldn't be out of character for him. He's a narcissistic dipshit, so makes sense. So yeah, so then trying to remember. After that, the unknown starts causing havoc down at the pier. or no, shipping yards, which I guess is technically a pier, but yeah. And it's starting to catch people on fire with its lightning. The G3 unit, then after it does it, I believe. No, no. So yeah. So it so yeah, it's doing that to a bunch of the workers there, and or maybe they're passerbys. Either way, and so Hikawa gets down there in the G3 suit. The unknown then strikes him with lightning, and it damages his suit a lot. And then Shuichi shows up, transforms into Agito, and starts fighting it. So yeah, I'm trying to remember if anything happens after that. So I can't remember. I don't think anything does. I think it just ends with him fighting the unknown and everything. There is also the weird, the creepy dude, where he is still kind of like, I guess he's trying to teach the guy how to use like his psychic powers and shit. And basically, there's also a thing of the guy saying he's going to kill whoever, someone that he I guess is like single-mindedly focused on or something. He just says he, so we don't necessarily know who he's talking about. There's also a thing where like it seems like Hojo heard the guy say that, but he wasn't at the hospital, so I don't know. I'm assuming the filmmaking is supposed to hint at Hojo being the one that the guy was wanting to track down and kill. So yeah, that's the best I have though. In regards to that guess. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next episode. So basically, a big status quo shift happens here, which I don't necessarily mind. The series was kind of like not necessarily stagnating, but kind of slowing down in regards to the plot and everything, and the or the overall story. So I'm not really that I'm none too plussed about it like actually moving on and developing more and introducing some new characters. Also, we basically, I don't necessarily know if this was revealed here or not, but I guess it's just maybe a reminder. The Akatsuki was the ship that Hikawa rescued a bunch of people from a few years before. So yeah, I didn't remember that being named earlier, but granted, it may have, and I just do not remember. So apologies for that, if so. But yeah, so yeah, good start to, I guess, whatever the hell this is gonna be. So yeah, we'll see if anything I say or I said there in that part of this carries any weight or bears fruit. So yeah, see you guys. On to the next one. All right, probably the best episode in a while. I'm not gonna lie. If you like pure mystery stories, you would like the last episode in this one. Just to be completely honest, I was actually kind of blown away that they like pulled this off. So yeah, episode 19, and like, holy shit, there were even some things from episode 18 that I forgot to mention that come up here. So yeah, proper two-part story basically. So to go over the plots here. Um, so we see Shoichi taking over the bakery that Hanamura left for him and everything. He tells Hikawa about that obviously after they've gotten Hanamura's body, and they're doing an investigation on probable causes of death. Hikawa wants to see if it was because of, or if he, because Shuichi tells him that it seemed like, the guy was, like, predicting he was gonna die, or knew he was gonna die. Hikawa wants to know if Shuichi could tell him if it's possibly because he had maybe precognitive powers or paranormal abilities or whatever that caused him to believe that, but Shuichi can't really say because he hadn't really been working there that long, so couldn't make the call. And Hikawa understood that. We get another weird joke of the episode. It's really weird. They keep bringing up these like one-off like jokes that get Hikawa a bit what is the word? Not anxious. Like basically just challenge his masculinity, maybe? I don't know. But get him like worked up, and so he goes to do the thing that like the people involved want him to do, because Shuichi, he's like frosting the bread or icing the bread that he's making, and he asks Hikawa if he could help him do it, and Hikawa says no at first, but then Shuichi says to him, basically earlier on in the episode, Tsukasa called him a brute, which is kind of weird. I don't understand why that would be brought up. None of the previous episodes has he really been portrayed as a brute. I don't know if that was the right translation choice or whatever, but like, regardless, it doesn't fit him either way. Then Shuichi kind of also calls him that, and Hikawa then tells him to give him the frosting thing and to let him do more of it, but then Shuichi's just like, no, I got it. But then and then it causes some of the frosting to spray onto Hikawa's jacket. So yeah, or blazer, whatever. So yeah, we get that a bit, and then eventually the unknown turns up again and starts zapping, or it zaps one person who is in a duo. They're doing some free running, I think, or just running on a it looks like a back road outside of Tokyo. So yeah, then Shuichi senses it and then goes to fight it. So yeah, and I believe I think he defeats it. But yeah, great how this shit goes on in the background while the A plot is dealing with the stuff from the previous episode. So, in regards to the other plot going on with the police stuff, so Tsukasa proposes that the G3 team that is currently in charge be disbanded, and they put a new G3 team in charge of operations and everything, headed by him and Hojo and everything. So, yeah. Along the way, we see Hojo put some clues together. And basically, so with one of the victims that caught on fire in the previous episode from the unknown, they had a sandwich from the bakery. And Hikawa got a sandwich from the bakery after he went to visit Shoichi. And because Hojo and Tsukasa had sandwiches that his sister made, Tsukasa's sister, had made them when they were doing like stakeouts and shit. Or were just doing their police stuff. He put it together, as well as digging through some files, as well as looking up some phone records from the phone company that was Hanamura's cell phone carrier. Tsukasa was the one to kill Hanamura and blame it on the unknown. Basically, Hanamura and Tsukasa's sister, I think it's Salary, dated for a little while, a few years beforehand, and then after they broke up, Hanamura got really, really pissed that they broke up. And so he decided to go and murder Salary. And he ended up doing so. And Tsukasa found that out, but they ran an investigation into Hanamura, but Hanamura was not found guilty. But Tsukasa knew that he did it because I think he saw him do it, because I think he killed Salary in his van or some shit, is what was shown. But yeah. And, but he left a bit of clues. For one, the watch. He put the watch on the wrong wrist. Hanamura was right-handed, so obviously the watch would be put on the left wrist. He put it back on the right wrist. And on top of that, even though the watch stopped, and he was in the G3 unit room thing, he called Hanamura's cell phone. So I guess he actually killed him and then set his body on fire. So he basically doused him in whatever the fuck, like, gas kerosene bullshit that he doused him in to light him on, or to set him on fire. And then he called his phone. He put his phone right next to his body where it would light up and then ignite the shit that he doused him with. And that burned his body. So yeah, and he blamed it, or he, as a result, blamed it on the unknowns, or the unknown, and then which he then also used to get the current G3 team out of the way in his stuff. There is a meeting as well before this, though, where Sumiko says that outside of that one killing, they still what was it? The other two killings were blood relatives and everything. So yeah, that was just she says that was an anomaly and everything, but the others aren't real, or yeah, the other policemen aren't really buying it because of whatever, all that shit. So yeah, but Hojo put it together and everything because he also found cell phone records that, or he called up the phone company and got cell phone records that Tsukasa did call Hanamura's phone and everything at that time. So yeah, Tsukasa is impressed by Hojo and everything, but it doesn't seem like Hojo's gonna turn Tsukasa in, because I'm assuming it's a situation where he's kind of gotten all that he wants in regards to the police stuff, where he has a guy that's working with him that he can work with and that he trusts and everything, and he's now in charge of the G3 project. So yeah, and everything's turning up Hojo. So yeah, this definitely subverted some of my expectations. But yeah, so I just think that this episode was actually pretty good. I recommend watching it. This is episode 19. I recommend watching it, even though you probably just heard me describe what goes on in the plot, because it is really, really good the way that it is. Watch 18 and 19 of this. It's actually pretty good. They set up a bunch of stuff in 18 that they pay off in 19, and I really, really do like how they did that. Right, and one of the things as well is at the beginning, the unknown because the creepy dude is speaking telepathically through the unknown, it says man shall not kill man. And that's also a hint to Hojo that something's up. So yeah. And I do like also that this episode does show that Hojo does actually have good detective skills. It's just that he's a dick. And he's a narcissistic asshole. So who thinks he's better than everyone else. So yeah, that's ultimately his biggest personality flaw. So yeah, he just wants to be in charge of everything. Pride goeth before the fall, and I can't wait to see how the fuck this happens. So, yeah. Don't know if it's going to happen in the next, but we're on episode 20, the last one of this, podcast. So, yeah. Or episode. This podcast episode. So, yeah, on to the next one. I just remembered two things from before I or that I want to say before I move on to the next episode, actually. So, first of all, there's a really funny joke, in my opinion, from this episode, where Hikawa, Sumiko, and Tetsuya? No. Whatever the fuck his name is. The other guy from G3. Basically, they're eating at a ramen stand in the city. And there's this really funny thing where, like, the guy who owns the ramen thing, he goes to look inside their ramen bowls, and like basically how it looks to him is like basically kind of like fortunes, and he says Hikawa is like it's lots of high highs and low lows. Sumiko, I can't remember what it says or what he says about it. But then the other guy, the other fucking guy, he shows a bit of interest in it. But then he's like, "Oh." And he's just like, "What?" Then the owner's just like, "Nothing." And he just goes fucking turns away and walks away. The capper of it, too, is that Hikawa and Sumiko go back to fucking eating their noodles right after that. Also, the use of the word Naruto, which I know is a thing in food and it is a thing with ramen noodles. So, makes sense that they would say it there. I don't know exactly what it is with ramen, but, like, something related to that. So, yeah. And then, right, the episode ends off with Rio, because we see him stumbling around and everything. Him getting to Aki's place and falling after Shuichi answers the door, because obviously Aki isn't there, but Shuichi is. So yeah, and him just like wondering what the fuck's going on with Rio. So, yeah. Just wanting to put that back in there. Or that in there. So, yeah. On to episode 20. Alright, so I had the shit with Tsukasa and Hojo pegged very wrong. Basically, it's revealed pretty quickly that, Hojo turned in Tsukasa, and Tsukasa went in, I guess, honorably, for lack of a better word. Basically, that just happened. And, the recommendations that, Tsukasa made, no longer in effect, null and void and shit, reset to status quo, and, the theory that, the unknowns are attacking blood relatives, fair game. Still fair game, which is good. So then, the rest of the episode deals with a few different things. Although we do see an a scene of Hikawa and Sumiko uh, inviting Hojo to lunch, and but he's not interested. He thinks it's basically them trying to rub salt in the wounds, I guess, of him turning in Tsukasa and everything. This guy is a fucking narcissistic dick, so this is par for the course with his character. So yeah, I do love how he was taken down a peg, though. Just in a different way than, like, he's been pegged a few different times. Heyo. But anyways, so basically, and I like Sumiko's response to it. She's like, remind me to never feel sympathy for that guy ever again. So, yeah. So the rest of the episode deals with Rio being held up and passed out most of the time in Aki's apartment. Shuichi is there and kind of trying to nurse him back to health and everything. And we also get a thing with the creepy dude and the human guy who has been, I guess, visiting him every day and, like, training to use, like, psychic powers and all that shit. He asks the creepy dude to grant him some of his powers, which the subtitles translated as him saying, give him some, like, half of his authority or some shit, which I don't know necessarily if that's the right translation. I don't think that's a wrong translation. It's just weird. Like, literally, I think what should have been better is, like, if the subtitles translated it as give me some of your power so I can use it to kill these people or whatever. Because he says that there are humans that, well, for one, the Agito that appears on Earth, but then also there are humans that are developing psychic powers and everything that he needs to, like, take care of and, I guess, assimilate or whatever the fuck. But yeah, it's also revealed that he, or his real name, is Shoichi Sugami, the name of the Shoichi that we've been following. However, he says that he abandoned that name a long time ago, and it means nothing to him. So, yeah, we get that reveal. That's very interesting. But yeah, so the creepy dude does grant him his powers, or the use of his powers and everything. And the guy goes around, he finds Aki, who is in a building with some of the rest of the people that were on the Akatsuki, which was 9 months before the series started, I guess, not years. I thought it was years, but whatever. And they say that she had been developing her powers more recently, and contact with Agito probably fast-tracked the development of her powers. She has just regular, like, psychic powers where she can just move shit and, like, control shit with her mind a bit. So, yeah, and one of the girls there gave her, maybe it's the only other girl there, whatever, gave her basically a printout of the operation to apprehend Agito. And because she was wondering about it, I don't know how she found out about it, but whatever. And so she had the other woman print it out for her and everything, and she reads the packet of information and everything. So, yeah. So then the creepy dude finds her, and when she's just, I think, walking somewhere, and tells her that I think he knocks her out or some shit, and then or like influences her power development, and he says that he jump started her powers basically and elevated them to what they are at that point. Because she developed her powers later than some of the others. So yeah. Um, so then, when there are some unknowns that, or an unknown that starts to attack her, Shoichi, by coincidence, or maybe, no, I think he senses it. He gets there, he sees that she's the one being attacked. He transforms into Agito and fights the thing, transforms into flame form, I believe. Yeah, flame form, and kills the unknown with his sword. But then we see that two more unknowns come out of nowhere and get the jump on him. And he starts fighting them both, but he's being overwhelmed because of the fact that there's two of them at once. So, yeah, Shoichi's in trouble. So we see that. And that's basically where the episode leaves off. We also get a thing with the bakery where basically the landlord, who realistically owns the building, I guess Hanamura was just paying rent, which you know, I get. Tells Shoichi basically to like clear out, and basically the bakery is shut down, and he's letting other people turn it into a ramen shop within the next month. But he didn't even know that Shoichi was still running the bakery until then. He's like, you shouldn't be running this without telling me. And Shoichi tries to tell him that Hanamura said to him that his dying words were, or that his last words to him were like to keep the shop going. But the landlord does not give a fuck. Fuck landlords. But anyways, yeah, so he tells him to clear out because of the fact that it's going to be a ramen shop, and yeah. So then we have Shoichi talking with Mana and Taichi about it, and Mana tells him that he can always move back in with them and everything, and yeah. So we just get that. So yeah. So not really too much to say other than that. Interesting episode. Kind of subverted my expectations, but I do like when a show can do that, but it does it actually right. And yeah, maybe I was thinking a little bit too like poorly of Hojo's character, but granted, Hojo's character is a piece of shit, so, or a narcissistic piece of shit, so who really gives a shit? And everything, but like, glad that he didn't just let Tsukasa get away with his crimes and everything. He clearly is bitter about it, though, and he didn't want to do that, but he had to because, for better or worse, he does have somewhat a sense of right and wrong and justice. So, yeah, we have that. Do like that it blew up in his face, though. That happened quickly. Like, you don't get a lot of shows where that happened. That usually writers or showrunners or whatever will tend to like milk drama like that until like it reaches its natural endpoint. But like, yeah, they took care of this pretty quickly, and I do like that. So yeah, interesting to see the plot with the creepy dude and the human guy who was there develop. I remember seeing, I think it's the same actor. They look very similar, if not. Who is the original Shoichi. I saw him in a clip that was from Kamen Rider Decade, where he was in the AR world and he was Agito. So yeah, very interesting, because it definitely wasn't Shoichi's actor in this series, but yeah. But yeah, that is basically it. Good episode, I would say. But yeah. So guys, that is basically it for this one. Another batch of 5 episodes done. Next one is going to be, for Agito, is going to be episodes 21 to 25. And then we still got Kabuto, episodes 16 to 20. So, yeah, look out for that. Both on Patreon and on YouTube. So yeah, guys. Not really much else to say. Links to the description, all my shit. Subscribe if you want, and I'll see you guys in the next one.